Welcome in, everybody. I just want to welcome in my guest, Jasmine Thomas, or N'Kiyla, if you don't know her. And she is running for U.S. Senate, and she's going against some heavy hitters this year, aren't you?
I am. Yes, I am. Some David. I mean, some Goliaths.
Some
I'm the David.
Goliaths. You're the
Some
David.
Goliaths.
You're definitely the David in this situation.
Yes. Well, at least I'm not the Jeffrey Epstein, right?
Oh God, yeah, yeah. Let's start that off quick. Yeah, at least you're not the Jeffrey Epstein. That's something you can always throw out there is, well, at least I'm not Epstein. I mean, I'm a
Or a
lot of things,
sympathizer
but
of him.
oh my God. Well, this is what gets me. You brought up Epstein, but I am 47 years old, Jazz, and at no point in time am I friends with, have family members, close acquaintances, partners that are into sexually, assaulting children at no point in time. This
Mm-mm.
guy we've got in office right now can't shake a fucking stick with sorry for my language, but he can't shake a stick without hitting a sex predator of some type, whether it
Hmm.
be a
Some
be a child
allegation.
or a woman or an allegations. And you know what? It's way too many times in my life where there's smoke, there's going to be some fire there. And
Yes.
there has to be some fire there somewhere. But I don't want to get into that too much because I could go for days talking about why this is terrible. What I really want to do is kind of just get a little brief introduction into you. I know we started that off fast, we jumped straight into Epstein, but
Isn't that like the main topic of everything right now? Honestly.
well, that and then, we've got the issue going on with the double tap. That's a big one
Hmm.
that's going in. And I know your husband's a service member
Hmm.
and everything, but tell us a little bit about your family, like, where you come from, your bringing a little bit, and we'll just kind of go from there.
Yeah. So my name is N'Kiyla Jasmine Thomas, and I am running for the U.S. Senate seat against Mark Wayne Mullen in Oklahoma as a Democrat. I am corporate and APAC free, and I'm solely grassroots. And I am a nurse, a mom. I have a son with autism, and then I have a beautiful neurotypical daughter that's 5. And I am a active duty military spouse. I'm Black, White, Native American, and I'm Chickasaw. And I am from Ardmore, Oklahoma. I'm born, raised, and bred there, where I graduated Ardmore High School in 2013. Go Tigers! And then I went on to college at East Central University. And I just kind of started my life out after that. Started nursing, got married, fell in love, got married, and went to nursing school. My husband's in the Army and has been in the Army for over almost 12 years now. I've been overestimating it here recently. So he's a career military. So we'll be here for a little bit. But I got into politics just recently, actually. I was one of those disengaged voters who was just like, they're going to choose whoever they want to choose anyway, until it affected me. And
Mhm.
that's big. That's the biggest, I think, the takeaway that's going to be from this pretty much rapid round, as everyone calls it, kind of like
Right.
getting to feel, is that I was definitely an apathetic voter. And I didn't actually get registered to vote until 2020 when it was Trump and Biden who was running. And then that's when it really made sense to me because I knew that we had a long 4 years of Trump from 2016 all
Mhm.
the way to 2020. And I was like, I never want to go through anything like this again. MAGA was horrible. And, seeing how it brought out the worst in everyone, but it wasn't even just the worst. That was like mid level at that point. It wasn't even
Right.
at what it's at now. So I really decided that I was going to get involved. And then last year, when the 2024 election had happened, I was so pumped up. I was like, I'm getting involved in the local elections. I'm getting involved in the congressional,
Yeah.
everything, everything.
Right.
I was super excited. Even school, I mean, I guess that's local because of school boards.
Right.
But it really went hard for Kamala because she represented everything that I was. She is a Black woman, but she's also Indian. And as I'm indigenous, she is, of course, her mother was from India. She was Asian.
I know.
What is it?
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So I
I
don't I
know where
don't
you're
want to
coming
I don't
from.
want to get those misconstrued. So sorry
Yeah.
to anyone out there. I want to be politically correct when it comes to what her actual nationality and her race is. So, Kamala, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. We
Well,
can.
and it is important though, because there are so many people who, during the course of this last election cycle, looked at Vice President Harris as someone who was just flip flopping her race to get votes, to garner votes from certain people, and so not to dwell on that too much, but it is important to go
Well,
through
that no,
and
that is important. So, like you're saying the dwell part, but I actually want to get into that as
yeah,
a
go ahead.
multiracial woman that's actually running into politics. Um, but even as a child, being multiracial was one of the hardest things that I think that I had to endure as an identity because we have identity crisis. So I don't think a lot of people who aren't of the multiracial collective don't understand that. So they always say that we're confused with our identity. We don't know exactly, we're trying to pander to this one, although we look like this one, or whatever it may be. But the thing is that when you're multicultural, I mean, when you're multiracial, you're multicultural too. So there is a lot of people who will definitely disregard us and say that we're panderers when we're just actually trying to connect to our roots. So, like me, for instance, I'm Black, white, Native American. I know my father's white, my mom is Black and Native American, but because I was raised on my mother's side, I'm culturally Black.
Hmm.
So, I have the dialect, I have the attitude, and I say attitude very lightly. I have the persona of a Black woman because that's who I was raised by, my aunts, my mom's sisters, my grandma, and my mom herself. So, not really having the not really being in touch with my white side, I really don't know the background, the history, or how to actually integrate into that side. Whereas with my Black and Native side, I know my history when it comes to my tribe. I know my cultural beliefs when it comes to being Black. So we don't ever get a seat at the table. And that's one of our biggest downfall is because we're either too white for the Black kids or we're uh too white for the Black kids or too white for hold on. Uh, okay. We're either too Black for the white kids or too white for the Black kids. And we don't really have a space for ourselves. And every time that we try to be proud of our heritage, of our culture, or whatever it is, it's being deemed as we don't know where we want to be in this life. But that's exactly the identity crisis that we go through. And it's not just ours. This has been projected onto us by our peers, by the communities,
The
by
system.
everyone, yes, by the system. And there really hasn't been anything that's been carved out for us. So I love having this conversation because it's so important that we actually speak on why it's important to have multiracial people in seats as well. Is because we see the whole picture, we see the big diaspora, but it really starts to actually be more detrimental to us when it comes, to the politics side. Because if you look one way, if you're presented one way on the outside, they're going to expect you to be whatever that is
Right.
instead of who you are and what you grew up around. And people aren't going to know what you grew up as. They're just literally deflecting and projecting whatever they see. So it's so imperative that not only do we talk about the disparities that comes with, one side or the other or one race or one culture, we have to look at the people who are multicultural and say, man, maybe they do have it hard because this is kind of they don't they don't get any grace for not having, that like we couldn't control who our mothers had children by, if that makes sense.
Right. Well, and another thing is, first off, I just want to congratulate you on using diaspora correctly. It's one of my favorite words, and so rarely do I get to use that in a sentence. So, good job on that.
Thank
Secondly, um, when you talk about being multicultural, look, it's obvious what I am. I'm just cornbread white. However, there are certain things that people expect from me based on how I look. And when
Mhm.
we talk about how you look and we talk about where you're coming from, as far as you're from the state of Oklahoma, the
Hmm.
state that voted the most for Donald J. Trump. You're in a very red state. This is David versus Goliath. You aren't accepting money from APAC or any corporate sponsorships. And look, that's a tough hill to battle if you're a white
Hmm.
male, let alone a woman of color.
Hmm.
So, how has the campaign gone thus far as like getting out, getting? Because look, I've met you, I've spoke with you a few times
Hmm.
and everything, and I'm all for you. I'm ready to just charge right on in. But
Yeah.
how is the campaign trail going for you right now? How's your response from the voters in Oklahoma? Are you
So it's actually been going well, and it's going better than I thought it would until well, it's not even really until, but I ended up getting a Democratic challenger for the primaries. And
okay?
I normally don't talk about him because that is none of my business, right?
Right.
But he is a white man, right?
Mhm.
And I was the only candidate up until what was it, September of this year. So I was
Right.
able to actually get out there, get some name recognition, and people have really gravitated towards me. But that's not just because of what I look like on the outside. I mean, that helps as a plus, for some people or some men. And it's really the white MAGA men that come towards me and they, tell me I'm not black or they tell me I'm not this, whatever. But for some of those people, they're actually looking at it and they're saying, okay, well, and this is going to sound so crazy, but this is just their words. She's hot and she's not too dark. She's like they tried to brown paper bag me pretty much. If you know what that means.
I do.
And so it's it's kind of it's kind of been a crutch in a way, but it's not at the same time because I'm so proud of who I am that I don't know. I'll just kind of go off of this. That when they do look at it this way, they'll be like, okay, yeah, she's a woman, but they're not looking at it as she's a black woman. They're looking at it now at this point as she's just a woman. She's just a
Right.
woman, and we don't want this. We don't want this. Now she's a liberal white woman. They're not actually looking at it. But to kind of go back, is that actually the campaign trail has been fun as a person of color in Oklahoma because I just resonate with a lot of people. There's so many things about me that I literally have people who come up to me or I have people who, message me on any of the platforms and they say, hey, like, thank you for coming out and saying this because I've been through this. Like, I'm a mom or a parent, not just a mom, but I have dads that come to me that says, I'm a parent of a child with a disability. I know how hard that is. We need more resources for this. We need more resources for that. We need someone who understands who I can actually put in real policy that's actually going to help us, not try to institutionalize our children or take our children away from us. And then I'll have, women who are, just so, because I'm so pro woman. They call me feminist all the
I'm
time. I'm
I'm a
so pro
fan.
woman.
I'm a fan
Yeah,
of women myself.
yeah, I
Yeah.
bet.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen your wife,
Yeah.
so
I can pull tens. I can pull tens. I'm just saying. Um,
actually, so I think instead of you grabbing dimes, I think you grab quarters. So I'm just going to give you
quarters.
that.
Boom. I'm using that.
Yes.
I'm stealing that. Yes. So, what do you say to the MAGA people that say if you're elected, it's a DEI. It's a DEI hire. How do you respond to that when people say, "Oh, it's just a DEI hire, whatever," in regards to Harris? When I was doing my lives on TikTok, I would always have somebody come in and say, "Oh, well, Kamala slept her way to the top." Well, dude, that's a lot of fucking, you know. Sorry,
Hmm.
sorry for
That
cursing, but
that
that's
that
it.
would be a
That's
lot. No,
that
that
would
would be a
be that
lot.
would that would be a record somewhere, to be able to get where she was at. And to me, it's the most disparaging thing you can say. You just initially told me first and foremost, you are not a fan of women.
Mhm.
If that is the first thing that you think of when you see a woman in power, you are not a fan of women. Uh you get emasculated very easily. I would
Oh
say
yeah.
that. Um, but you do know that that is going to be something that you're probably going to face because of that. And look, I don't support it. I stand against it at every opportunity I get. But that is a realistic expectation of of running for a
Of
Senate
the
seat of
patriarchy.
the patriarchy. And I hate to say this, and I know this is gonna make a lot of, religious people mad, but it's the Abrahamic religions is why we have such, deeply entrenched patriarchy in this country, it's the Abrahamic religions, um, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam.
Hmm.
Those are 3 religions that have completely destroyed the divine feminine. There is no equality in that.
Hmm.
Most of your native, religions, they had, the mother spirit, the mother earth,
Hmm.
and
Oh yeah,
there is
my tribe believes in Mother Nature. We believe
yeah.
that we oftentimes believe that a woman created the earth.
Why wouldn't
But
you? Why wouldn't you?
because women give life, right?
Yes.
Exactly. Exactly. So we are so big on nature and taking care of nature that, and I talked about this in a podcast a few weeks ago with a lady that actually drove all the way from Indiana. We could have done it virtually, but she was like, "No, I need it in person." And
Man,
we
I
talked
feel
about this,
like I feel like a slacker now. I'm like,
no,
"No,
no,
yeah, yeah."
Joe, like she was like, "This is incredible too. I love it." Because it was that was a surreal situation, but this is even better because I love still having these conversations because sometimes it can get a little awkward, but in person. But when you're over the camera, it's like like
Yeah,
you can kind of pick up on those
let's just
moments.
talk. Yeah.
But I told her, I said, we really do believe that the creator is a woman because we don't really worship a. We know that there's a God, but we call that God Jehovah, and
Okay.
Jehovah means man who sits above the clouds. So, man, woman, it's just really a variant, if that makes sense. But that's ultimately what it means in Chickasaw is man who sits above the clouds. So when we think of that, we think about how they nurtured the community, the nature. They birthed the nature. They're the ones that literally made everything so beautiful, so abundant, and I just don't think that's and I don't want to alienate my men because I love my men supporters. They're incredible, but I just really feel like toxic masculinity is what really has destroyed us as not only a nation, but as a world power. And also as a whole, the whole world.
Yeah.
We've seen so many wars. Who has started those wars? Men. We have seen so many things been taken from us. Who has taken that from us? Men. Who has been dictators? Men. When women are in power, every time when women have some kind of control, we see budgets get balanced faster, our communities get healthier, we see that things grow within our communities, we see that
Yes.
there's actually compassion that's being shown. And that's why we don't really see
Well,
a
to
lot of negative
I
implications when it comes to the feminine being in leadership.
in fairness, the absolute biggest threat to women for the past, I don't know, however long we've been on this planet has been us. It's been
Yeah.
men. I mean, it really has. If you look how quickly women are subjugated. If you want to look at when the Ayatollah took over in Iran, um,
Hmm.
women went from driving cars, having jobs, being able to
Wear
be
pants.
educated, wear pants, to within a decade, all you see of Aunt Linda is her eyeballs, and so and I'm not disparaging that religion. What I am saying is that men will subjugate women in a heartbeat. You can even go into the Bible, biblically speaking, in Deuteronomy, and it talks
Hmm.
about what happens if a woman gets divorced and marries another man, and the rules behind all that, because women were property.
Hmm.
They could justify all that because women were property. And so and I can get on religion for days.
Oh
That's
yeah.
one of my uh
That's
that's
your what is it called? Your
fortes, I guess you
what
could say.
what
Yeah.
is my second when you get very Oh, I can't think of the word right now, and I just said it earlier because it's like I get, I can't think of that word. But anyway, it's like when you get super into, hyper fixation. That's what it is,
Oh,
hyper
it is.
fixation.
It's a hyperfixation for me. I did an entire 6-part segment on white Christian nationalism,
Hmm.
and just went through the entire history of it, in my last podcast. So, that
I
was
think that
like a
that's up there with toxic masculinity for sure.
well, they're tied together. They really
Mhm,
are, and I wasn't aware of the all the branches of it and how deep the roots went into our culture. But, when Mondami was elected in New York, there were people
mhm,
coming out saying, "Oh, they're trying to replace us." Who? And so I researched that, and it came from the Great Replacement Theory, which was part of eugenics back in the early 20th
mm,
century. But then it was revisited back in the 20 teens by a guy named Renaud Camus, who he was a French philosopher, author, political theorist, whatever, who came up with this thing that people of color, specifically Muslim people of color, are trying to replace white European Christians in positions of power so that they can take over the world. Well, first off, I'm just going to say, why is it just solely your ability to be in power because you're a white European Christian? Why is that? And secondly, don't we all live here? Isn't this our country? If we look at the United States of America, and I look the founding fathers, yeah, a lot of them were pretty shady. I mean, they owned slaves. They did a lot of things in today's
right.
standards are looked down upon.
Mhm,
And to be honest with you, they were all wealthy class who just wanted to maintain power, but give the people hope and inspiration to get behind, to build this nation. But they made promises that, be honest with you, I brought up DEI. These are the guys that engineered DEI because they wanted diversity. They advertised this country to everyone across this planet to come in and come in. Let's all share our ideas. So that's
mhm,
inclusion right there. So we've got diversity and inclusion, and then equality. All men are created equal. Now they literally meant all men. They didn't mean women.
mm-mm,
But we've progressed and we've tried to achieve those promises and make those promises true.
right.
And so, and which has led me up here talking to you, an 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 a Black Native American, white nurse
Woman,
with a
right,
woman
right.
with an autistic child and a husband in service. I mean, we have made strides to even be here
Mhm,
today, but we didn't come this far just to come this far, right?
right. Right. And one thing about it is that I used to have a person who was volunteering with Team NJT, and she was a very staunch, wonderful advocate. And she was a Black woman, and she still is a Black woman.
Oh, okay. I
She
didn't know. I didn't know.
nothing's changed. But she had made a comment in our group me in the volunteer one time where she had said, being a military spouse seems to be one of Jasmine's biggest like she's proud of. And it got me to think, actually, because one thing about me is I'm hyper independent and I really enjoy my alone time. Like, I enjoy my husband, at times. Love him to death, don't get me wrong. But, like, I just like doing things myself. I like learning. I like being hands on. I like being the person that I rely on, right? And it's not because I can't rely on him, it's just because, I'm so proud to be a military spouse because of the fact that at one point in time, we also had to shut up and sit back. There was no, like, at one point in time, there was no way that we could run. There was no way that we could actually have a voice. We had to basically do everything that a service member had to do. We had to not say anything. We had to not be on any side of the political spectrum. We
Mhm.
just had to basically follow our husband and be the 1950s housewife, just like they want us to do today. Mind
Trad
you,
wife.
yeah, a trad wife, and that's not something that I'm interested in. Like, my husband is my equal. Even though he may be a leader, but we both lead because, for one, I have no other choice to leave when he leaves, right? I have to be the provider, I have to be the cook, I have to be the chauffeur, the maid,
The
mom, nanny,
disciplinarian. Yes.
everything. I
Yes.
I even have to be the dog trainer because I have 2 dogs, and I have to juggle all of these positions, when he's not here. So therefore, I give my husband the respect that he needs as a person, but not as a man. If that makes sense.
Right.
And let me elaborate, because one thing about it is that man thing doesn't mean anything to me. He's a person. He's my partner in crime. He is my everything. But there is no real gender roles here because we both do the same thing at different levels and at different times. I
Yes.
have to pick up his slack when he's gone, and then he has to pick up my slack when I'm gone. Especially out on the campaign trail. He just got back last Tuesday. But all that to say, is that he's done wonderful picking up, where I'm having to step away, like just now.
Right.
Step away, come right here, and he goes and puts the kids to bed, feeds them, does everything that I would normally do as or traditionally would do as a
Right.
woman. But that doesn't make him less masculine. That doesn't make him less of a leader. If anything, it makes him more of a leader that he's able to look at his wife not as competition, but as someone who's living out her dreams and actually doing something to help her community, our community, and just try to brighten up the put logic back into the political sphere.
So you brought up a really good point in talking about your husband being a person, and that's your partner. He's your equal. He's not greater or less than. And
Mhm,
and I absolutely love that because um I told my wife when we first started dating, I said, I don't want to be the boss.
mhm,
I don't want that. I can be the boss at work. That's fine.
mhm,
But at home, I want somebody who matches my energy, who is there with me and who's look, it's not me versus the world. It's us, me and her
yes,
versus whatever shit may befall us. And I don't need somebody that's just sitting back there in the corner whimpering, waiting on me to give them direction. I need somebody who's ready for action and ready to move.
mhm,
I call my wife my shield maiden,
mhm,
because we watched that movie Vikings or that show Vikings
mhm.
and my wife is Danish, so she's a big Viking chick anyway. But,
You're gonna stand 10 toes on that, aren't you?
oh,
I love it.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Love it.
And so that's the thing, and I think that's the key to a successful relationship too,
Mhm,
is society has forced us into these roles, and used to it be the wife would stay at home and she would tend to the children, and the dad would have end up with a drinking problem and coming home, late after working all day and providing and all this other stuff, whatever.
mhm.
And society has made an adjustment with that. Our economy has made an adjustment with that to where it's not practical for a man to work full time and the wife not. It's almost
Mhm.
economically impossible for that to happen. And so the roles should change too with that. So if the woman is having to get up and go help support the family now, well, she's not the only one that should be washing the dishes. She's not the only one that should be doing the laundry. My wife's going to love hearing this. And those roles have changed, and it's because our society has evolved.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's not that,
Absolutely.
and if you're a man that believes you went out and you worked a job and you should come home and sit your ass on the couch and watch reruns of Seinfeld all night, I'm sorry. Don't be surprised when the divorce papers show up because that's not the way things are anymore. You have to be involved. You have to be an active participant in your
Yes.
family's life. You can't just go out and bring home the bacon. Um,
Well, and that's the most important part about, I can't speak on very many other people's marriages with their relationships or whatever it may be. But the beauty about mine is that even though my husband actually leaves the house to go work, he understands just how important mine is outside of the campaign too, like even before.
right.
And it wasn't like that always. It really took me actually sitting down because I'm a blunt vocal person. And that's one thing that my husband's a Virgo.
Oh
I get
God.
into astrology with it. My husband's a Virgo and I'm a Sagittarius. So actually my birthday's in a couple of days. I'll be 31. But my thing is that I'm a fire sign. I come off as being rude or when I'm being blunt, but I say the first thing that's on my mind. And my husband's just so laid back and chill and nonchalant. He's just so earthy and down to earth. And,
What did you say his sign was?
he's a Virgo.
Oh, he's a
Yeah.
Virgo. What
He's
month?
a
I don't know. I know.
September. So he was born in September.
Oh, okay. I got you. I got
Hmm.
you.
Yes. So he's just very chill. He he's never really had a serious relationship prior to being with me because once he saw me, he was like, I don't need anyone else. Like he
Okay,
knew.
I'm done.
He knew
I'm
outright that.
done.
Yeah. And so, once he got with me, I really built him for me.
Right.
I was able to teach him things. I was able to show him things that, he really wasn't, I guess, destroyed from, if that makes sense.
Did you train your husband? Is that what you're telling the world right now?
How
You
to train
trained
your
your
husband,
husband?
yeah.
Yes.
But let me get to this is because
Okay.
he
All right.
built me for him too.
Right.
Because we worked together. We were able to talk through a lot of things instead of just a lot of women, especially in the trad world, they just like you said, they whimper and they cower in the background and they wait until they're just so miserable to finally try to speak up about things when they could have just been upfront, blunt. And I get it. Like they don't understand sometimes they know that they have to be the good girl. They have to be the person that, that carries the family, things like that, that like it's just what they're indoctrinated with, right?
Hmm.
But I was upfront with my husband and I let him know, like, hey, this is what I like and what I don't like, because I don't know how you rolled with any of your girlfriends prior to me. But I'm letting you know now, this is my standard. This is how I'm going to do things. And if you don't like it, you don't have to be here.
Right.
And there was so many things that I had to teach him and deconstruct from, because he was raised by his dad, a single dad too. So there was a lot of things that I did
I
have
say
to
that
deconstruct.
I did that because I was a single dad for a long time before me and
Uh
Rachel got together. And
oh. Okay. Well, I wasn't trying to be
oh,
shady.
no, no, no. I just got to throw this in there. No, it's fine. So the entire time I was, so I got full custody of my youngest son when he was
Hmm.
4 years old, and there was a long time there where it was just me and him. And I have two older sons, and I
Hmm.
didn't, I saw them every other weekend. I would go to their games and school functions, through the week, but there was no midweek visitation or anything.
Hmm.
And so he's my ride or die. He's a senior this year in high school.
Oh.
And the entire time that we were that I was raising him, there was a constant thread in my head that was just like, don't mess this up. Don't mess this kid up. Don't mess him up. Make sure, and so yeah, that was now when Rachel me and her started dating, when she came to
Hmm.
my house, she was like, I thought my house was really clean and smelled nice. Apparently it smelled like a frat house. But it was
Two
all,
boys in a house. I
yeah,
mean,
it was three boys and me.
oh, three
And
boys.
yeah,
Sorry.
so by that point my two older sons had came to live with me when they were
Hmm.
in high school. So it kind of was that energy, I guess, I mean, we did laundry and stuff, but apparently I don't know how to do laundry very well. So, um,
I think that it's a personal touch for women and how we just keep things just, because I mean, laundry is a science that I don't even think that women, even, I think that we have to perfect it. So it's nothing that you guys are doing or anything wrong. It's just you're sweating too much. That's all. I'm just joking.
no, I don't know. She told me one time, I was like, after when we first got married, we lived in two different cities.
Hmm.
Like, so she would come see me, I would come see her, but we were married. And I remember when we first like really moved in together, I was like, man, this shirt smells amazing. And she was like, yeah, honey, your clothes stink. And I was like,
Yeah.
what? I was like, how do my clothes stink? I was like, I use stuff.
Mhm. Nothing
So,
personal, just it's and like because I do it with my son. My son is 7, right?
right.
He's 7, but he's one with his autism. He matures faster than most kids. They normally develop faster.
Are we
So
talking physically? Are you talking physically developed? Is he like
yes,
big?
no.
Okay.
So intellectually, he's I would say he's maybe at a level of maybe like a 4 to 5 year old
Okay.
at being
Okay.
7,
Right.
but he can read. Like he
Right.
can read just fine. And he sometimes often can speak to us, but it's just, he's emerging with his speech. So there's a lot of things that he gets frustrated with that we can't understand. But outside of that, but physically, he matures faster because at 3, I do believe I was putting deodorant on him, like actual
Yeah.
like men's. or, like men's deodorant. And, like he would get, so musty and like he would sweat a lot and it
Dude,
would just smell like pure boy and pee pee.
do they make children's deodorant? I didn't know,
They make
dude,
like girly ones, but he's
oh, okay,
actually
I
using
got you.
like degree men.
Yeah, okay, like, the
Yeah.
24-hour stuff, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I got you, yeah.
Yes.
It's like,
But
"Bro, get in here."
yeah,
Yeah.
it's incredibly just like I mean, he started losing teeth a little earlier,
Oh,
um, developing like within his jaw. Like, I mean, it's just autism just does a number on children.
it's
And it needs to be studied more. But with that being said, like, I mean, I just didn't realize how boys just smell like pee pee. But little boys, like they still
they
use the
do, yeah,
potty. He said we do.
yeah. No, you're not lying, yeah.
So, I mean,
I mean,
I'm
it's
not trying to be, I wasn't trying to alienate or say anything crazy, but
no, listen to this though, Jazz. I had a conversation at work, you was talking about guys smelling and everything, and there was a guy that works with us and ended up having to have somebody have a conversation with him and ask him how often is he, um, bathing.
mm,
Because it was just it was he could kill a fly at 10 paces. Like that dude was that dude
yes.
had some whew, I mean, it's like you could smell him coming. Anyway, but have you ever just thought and wondered how bad did people smell 200 years ago?
Oh, all the time,
Oh
all
my
the
god.
time. But someone had brought up a good point at one point in time too. And not to be like one of those like crunchy moms or anything, because I'm really not. Like
Right.
my kids, my autistic kid literally survives off of Doritos
Right.
because he's
Yeah.
so picky with his food, right? But we did have a different diet like 200 years ago too.
It's true.
No,
It's true.
two okay, so we'll say like Neanderthal times too. I'm pretty sure they were musty, but they may not have the same smells too,
Yeah,
Because
you're right.
you know?
Well, I've done a lot of different dieting over the course of my 47 years. I grew up poor, so I was fed an ample diet of pinto beans and cornbread. So
Mm,
but I believe you're right though. I believe your diet does play a key part in that,
mhm.
and you think about it, there have been times I've gone with a carnivore diet where I've eaten just meat and, um, my wife told me, she was like, you're gonna have to stop that because your breath is kicking. Eating
Yeah,
just nothing but steak, it was terrible. I was just like, "Man, why's my breath so hot?" I don't know, but
but
it was
that's
yeah,
keto normally does that though. So like you're saying the
right.
carnivore that's like keto.
Yeah,
And keto does that just because of all of the enzymes that your body is trying to break down, especially within your kidneys and your liver. Like it's
right.
like as a nurse, I know that. So like like that's actually fairly normal. So I'm wondering if maybe it just smelled like that, like back in
It's
the gap,
possible. Well, and then another thing is those people didn't eat like we eat 3 meals a day, and if I don't get at least 6, I think I've somebody's, um,
At 6.
somebody's starving me to death. You know, there were times throughout our history, not that far back, where
Hmm.
1 meal a day, you were lucky. You were fortunate to have
Hmm.
1 meal a day. Whereas now, I look at our Native American population and how drastically overweight, not just Native Americans, but our African American communities, the Hispanic community. And a lot of that has to do with the fact of over the past 200 years, they've just been force fed grains and bread and
Hmm.
things that their bodies haven't adjusted for, you
And
know?
within our community, the Black community, we were given pig intestines called chitlins. Literally, my mom just what that they cook some over
I've
the
had
that they.
those. I've
Ugh,
eaten
I
those.
out of the almost 31 years, I've never, but they are always on the menu on
Yeah.
Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, we've literally been given scraps our whole,
Absolutely.
hair, like, like genealogy, our lineage. And that comes from famines too, that with the Hispanic culture, like they had nothing else to gain, especially when it gets so hot out in, the Hispanic countries. I don't just want to say Mexico because I mean
Right.
there's a lot of Hispanic, variants of Hispanic. And so, they had to make it do what it do. There were certain things that would grow in immense heat, and there was some things that would grow, in the most weathered,
Yeah.
humid weather. So it's really just the it's really just the conditions, but also being poor. You're right.
Yeah.
It's just it's a mess, and we have not. I think that we have not really kind of festered out into, and I say festered very loosely because I'm trying to use it correctly, but like we kind of just got rid of some things, but then implemented other things when things started becoming more accessible for us too. And then it started becoming processed. So therefore, you see a lot of the Black community actually having high blood pressure,
Yes.
high cholesterol, the
Diabetes.
diabetes, big on diabetes.
Yeah.
And then and I would love to go into this because I'm so big on Black healthcare. I mean, healthcare just in general, but the disparities that comes into people of color. But, there's so many things that in the healthcare field, they the doctors have not actually, and it's not just now, these are, down generational doctors. They just were not actually giving the information to the communities, the people of color communities, and actually getting them to actually, go work out. Like telling them like, "Hey, if you're pre-diabetic, you can actually work out, change your diet,
Yeah.
and not be diabetic." But
Absolutely.
they weren't giving that information to anyone, and people were actually dying, getting their legs cut off, toes, feet, ankles, whatever, and it was making them money. Our pain was making
Oh, yeah.
the whites. Oh, I mean, that's always been a thing, right? Like that's always been a thing.
Well,
But
you
we are so underserved.
you absolutely are. I 100% agree. And I think one of the biggest issues is so with white man came white man's diet,
Hmm.
you know? Um, if you're up in Europe and all you have is grain that you can make bread out of and things like that, then over the course of several hundreds of years, your body adapts to that. It's
Right.
evolution. I mean, it really is. It's evolution.
Mhm.
But then you come in and you do everything that you can to seize and control this land here. You take over from the natives, you force them into your Christian schools, and
Right.
then you force your diet onto them. A really good example of the effects, the negative impact of colonization, white colonization,
Hmm.
is in Australia. In the 1960s, anthropologists went in and were studying the Aboriginal people there, the Aborigines,
Hmm.
and the and these are just some of the studies. They were talking about how athletic these people were. There wasn't a bit of fat on them, but they were muscular. They were, very
Hmm.
muscular, large frames, very stout. There were certain things that they had
Kind of like our
developed.
Samoans.
Kinda like our Samoans, except these
Hmm.
guys were skinny. Samoans are
Hmm.
big, they're just big,
Oh yeah.
but they've evolved eating coconuts and shit, I mean, like, they're getting a high carb diet, but anyway,
Hmm.
so these, Aborigines people have a genetic mutation to where their body heats up depending on the weather because it goes from such extreme heat and look, if you're 120 degrees Fahrenheit and then you drop down to the low 50s, that's an extreme change in temperature from day and
Hmm.
night. So, but anyway, and then the British government decided that they should do things to help these people. And so we're going to start dumping cases of Coca-Cola into these Aboriginal places
Hmm.
to where now they have Coke, now they have bread, now they have carbs. You're
Refined
talking
sugar.
refined sugar. Thank you. And their average diet per year might have been 25 grams of sugar, of like true sugar. The rest of it was fat and meat. And now all of a sudden, at one point in the 20 teens, they had the highest rates of diabetes, heart disease, cancer, all those things. Whereas before we introduced our diet to them, I mean, a jackalope or something might have got them. I don't know. But it damn sure wasn't the diabetes, you know? It wasn't the
Right, right.
diabetes.
They
And
probably had the ketoacidosis every now and then, but I
every now and
mean,
then, yeah,
they didn't have the beaties. They
that's
didn't
right.
have the
They didn't
beatus,
have the
but okay,
betas.
keto maybe.
But
Beatus
you,
no.
but you, but
But
that's,
no, I mean, but yeah,
that's,
I mean, first of all, every time someone says anything about the British, first and foremost, all I could think about is their nasty looking food. They don't very much so. That's all they eat is carbs.
it
If you
is.
if you look at
It
everything, all
is.
they do is eat carbs. And so that is there, just like you were saying earlier, just like in those northern countries, and they're technically northern if you think about it. Like
Yeah.
they're up there, but they're just not, like Netherlands or
Right.
whatever else is up there, like higher Russia. I don't even know if people even live at the tippy top of Russia. I don't know. But
There are tribes that live up there.
there are okay,
There
okay.
are,
I
yes.
see. I stay in American business. I
Yeah,
don't go.
right. No, 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 I got you.
I'm not a trader here, so I don't go. I'm good with it. But but like they can't even grow potatoes there. They have to get those imported. But they have done a lot of breads. They've done a lot of that refined sugar. They've done and
Yeah,
the blandness, like it's just too much. So them pushing that onto the Aboriginals is not surprising to me. I mean, it's
right.
information because I didn't know that,
Yeah,
so that was interesting. But it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't. It just nothing that the majority does really surprises me anymore.
right. No, I understand. I think one of the things though, just because you're a healthcare worker and you've been around this, plus the fact that um, you do have Native ancestry, you do
Hmm.
have Black ancestry, is the fact that I would be interested to see what would happen to some of these people if they were introduced to a more, um,
Balanced diet.
not necessarily balanced diet. I'm talking about
Okay.
a diet that is more traditional for their ethnicity.
Well, we
Like,
do. We do. We
right.
do. So I want to say that with my tribe, because I am Chickasaw, that we have been trying to preserve our culture because that's the whole point of us having the treaties and things of that nature, and also just being just culturally just aware, right, and keeping it alive. But we try Pashofa. We have which Pashofa is it's like a hominy kind of.
Oh,
It's like
okay.
a
All right.
hominy kind of
I got you.
I can't explain it. It's kind of like a stew, except it doesn't have meat in it all the time. Some
Right.
people, will put their spin on it, but we'll have, and we have kind of like this grape dumpling type meal, and I can't think of the name of it right now. But we have fry bread, like Indian tacos. That's what we call them, and it's incredible. Like we do so many things, but the thing is that those are traditional meals. Outside of like growing weeds, but corn was a big part of our rich
Right.
history. Like, I mean, I think that that's going to be for most tribes. Can't speak on a lot of tribes, but I mean, every tribe that I've actually researched and kind of just went into depth with, a lot of us really just thrived off of our corns, our weeds, our, like our, uh, I can't think of what it's called, like the chive, they call them chives. Chives, but we call them something else, like wild onion.
Oh,
We do
yeah.
a lot of that. Yeah, wild onion. We do
Yeah.
a lot of the
I know
things
what
that
that
naturally
is.
just grow out of the ground, carrots, whatever. But, if we did kind of go back to that in that kind of sense, we would have to work out still. That's all I have to say. We would still have to work out because that's ultimately what our ancestors did. They had to hunt, they had to go out, they had to,
Yes.
swim. They
They
they had a lot of physical activity.
Yeah, well, and have you ever just sat and wondered exactly how did we end up sitting in a box staring at another box for work? I mean, it I think one of the reasons why people have a lot of anxiety and stress and depression and things like that is the fact that people aren't using their body anymore. It's all your
Mhm.
mind. Your mind is exhausted and your body is just sitting there going, "Well, I'm just getting fat now. I'm not exercising. I'm not doing anything. I'm not moving. I'm not
Right.
I'm not doing things with my hand." I went from a corporate world to blue collar.
Hmm.
because I was so stressed out with the corporate side
Hmm.
of things. And when I went back to blue collar, I was moving stuff with my hands again. I was working, having to lift stuff, breaking a sweat. Those are things that are tangible gains that people can find uh, that actually helps with your happiness. Sitting in front of a desk all day is terrible. It's something, and I know that's something that you don't do, but in the healthcare field, it's always you're on your feet. You might sit down, do some med passes, charts, whatever, but then somebody calls. You got a blue, somebody's code blue over here or whatever.
Right.
You get
Hmm.
those types of scenarios. So you're up on your feet and you're moving and stuff. I think the best thing that we could ever do is encourage more people to get out and exercise.
Oh
And
yeah, and sitting out in the sun, just like you said, the vitamin D is going to ultimately,
yes,
raise their, their oxytocin, their melatonin, everything. I mean, it helps you sleep. It helps you, regulate your time, your internal clock.
yeah,
The sun is so
circadian
important.
rhythm.
Even
Yeah,
yeah, your circadian rhythm. Yeah, perfect. Thank you for putting yes, everything.
yeah.
But it ultimately, also gives you a great glow. I'm just joking.
Right.
I mean, I'm not joking, but like that.
Right. No, but
You know,
you are right though. It does help with those things. During COVID, research came out, and a vast majority of African Americans that fell ill to COVID had low vitamin D.
oh yeah,
They need to
oh yeah,
be, black people need to be out in the sun more. It's the difference between our skin colors is based on where our ancestors were in
yes.
regards to the equator. I mean, that's it. We're the same people. We just have different, genetics.
Complexions, yes, and how much vitamin D we can actually soak up, and that is actually factual for anyone out there that doesn't know
Yes.
this. Like everything that he just said is actually medically true as well. So,
Thank
it,
you. Thank you for
yes,
validating me.
yes,
Yes.
no,
Yes.
it's medical. So it actually just surprised me that you actually knew that because that's something that
I'm very
we
smart.
learned.
I don't know if you knew that, but I'm very smart. Yeah. No,
I'm so
seriously.
proud of you. I'm proud of
Yeah.
you for being smart. I'm proud of you for having two connecting brain cells because yeah, absolutely. But no, so
Go ahead.
everything that he's saying, viewers, is actually true. So we have been normally the workers of the sun, and that's actually why the black skin tone, it's a deflector. How
It
can I
is.
say this? So it's kind of like a
Just say
deflector,
it.
but
Yeah,
it's still the vitamin D still penetrates. And that's exactly why we need it is because our skin was built to be, it was built for the sun. Whereas our counterparts, why they burn and they get red and look like lobsters, no shade, y'all, is because they're not reflectors. They
right.
actually,
We absorb it. Or well,
yes,
we
they basically get the brunt of it. So like the UV rays are not their friends. And so everything that he said is so true. And it's not anything that's, of a racial bias or anything like that. So I'm just actually super proud that he knows that because I actually learned that in nursing school, even as a Black woman. So no, that's facts. But we still have to wear SPF because one, our skin is still very prone to, of course, sagging and wrinkles, things like that. But also we're not immune to skin cancer either. We're
right,
not. We're not immune to skin cancer. Now, our counterparts are more susceptible to it, but we just our skin is ultimately built for it. But no, if we prioritize our health more often, then I feel like we would all be in a better place. But we all know that we cannot prioritize healthcare, our health, if healthcare is super expensive. So we can see how we just rolled into that.
we did.
Yeah, we
We
just did
did.
that. And with the big beautiful bill coming into play, and especially with my opponent actually sympathizing with it and actually agreeing to it, it's all a part of the plan to actually, and this is just my opinion, this is not anything that's been proven. But I like to give my supporters and my viewers a little bit about how Jasmine thinks and not, the candidate thinks. Is I really think that it's part of the plan to ultimately off people who would cost too much to care for, especially with resources within the community, because we know that the community needs so much funding and financial aid to even be able to provide these services to these people who need these resources, right? So it's like one of their biggest things as to they kind of want to get rid of them so then that money can still be pushed back. But that's in this administration. I'm not talking about any other administration because that's just how I view it. When I saw Project 2025, that's why I got involved, is because they were talking about institutionalizing people with disabilities and are homeless.
Yeah, perfect segue into something I actually did want to talk about. You talked about Project 2025, which I've read through that. I find it
Hmm.
disgusting that we have people in the administration that authored Project 2025. I'm talking about uh, Derek Carr. He's the FCA,
Hmm.
FCC, not FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Yeah, he's the FCC chairperson.
Hmm.
But thoughts on the name five things that RFK Jr.'s done right, and name five things that he's done wrong.
So he got people to think this is wrong.
Okay,
So he got people to think that autism was curable. He told people that Tylenol was the cause of autism. He ultimately said that, one, he had a brain worm. I mean, that may not be wrong on the community as a whole, but it's concerning, right? Like, why would someone with a brain worm be in charge of healthcare? But I digress. There's two more here, and I'm trying to remember because he did say something crazy a few weeks ago that wasn't autism related. Um,
he did say
oh,
that girls were having their period 6 years earlier or
oh
something like
yes,
that. Yeah. And I was like, no, bro, that would mean they're six having their period, I mean,
yes,
or younger,
or younger, yeah, because we also know that Black women start their periods earlier than our
menstruate earlier.
counterparts as
Yeah.
well. Exactly. So you're right about that. Um, but yeah, so like I mean that was four, but there's room for growth for here. I mean not growth, but there's room for more destruction. So that fifth can come in fairly
That
quick.
that was pretty easy. That was the easy part of the question. The hard
He
part
hasn't
of the
done any. Oh,
question,
the only one thing that he's done was he got rid of the dyes. That's it.
yeah, I was in support of that.
Me
So,
too.
and this is probably nothing that you're running on or anything like that, but I do want to know, how do you feel about Ozempic?
I don't see one. I think that it's a good medication for treating your diabetes,
Mhm.
but and I feel like it's actually good for the people who actually need to lose weight to manage their diabetes because
Mhm.
that's one thing is being
Yes.
overweight can obviously, trigger your symptoms, right? Or spike your blood levels, whatever.
Yeah.
Or you know what I mean.
I don't know if you're aware of this. I'm insulin dependent.
You are?
I
Oh,
am.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So you actually wear the pump?
I do. I have
Okay.
yeah,
Oh, you have the Dexcom.
I do have the Dexcom and the Omnipod. So that's what I got.
Oh, you're up with the technology. I
I
love that.
am.
I love
I am.
Dexcoms. They're
Yeah.
so
Oh,
nifty.
so great.
So nifty.
They changed their pod from 6 to the 7. So it
Oh,
went from
wow.
this big block to
Yeah.
now
To this little
it's just like I got a little dime on me. Um,
Yes, I love that. And it's less
yeah.
noticeable, but it still keeps, the body going. But no, like Ozempic, I think it's a good resource for the people who actually use it for their diabetes treatment. Now, do I think that it should be utilized for the weight loss and weight loss management? No. I mean, depending. If you have um like a secondary, thing like going into the pre-diabetic because you're overweight, absolutely use it for that too. But if you're just using it, if you're like my size, which I'm not huge, and I'm not super skinny either. I'm just, just medium size,
How would you refer to yourself as besides medium
thick,
size? Thick. Okay,
thick.
thick. Yeah. I knew you almost said it and I was like, no, no.
No, we're letting it
Say it.
all out
Say
there.
it. Yeah.
She thick with three C's. She thick.
Yes.
Yes. No, so yeah, so like in the thicker portion that actually has, a healthy background as well. Although I do have a messed up thyroid. I just found that out like 2 months ago. But I'm okay. It has caused my voice to get squeaky and all this other stuff. But outside of that, I'm doing just fine. But nonetheless, is that I think that it's misused by the people that can actually afford it? Absolutely. Do I think that people who actually need it should afford it? 100%. And I think that that's something that we definitely need to have, a little bit harder there needs to be a little bit more, and I don't want to say, I don't want it redlined or gate kept, but I really want it accessible for the people who actually use it for what it's intended to be used for.
I 100% agree with that. I have a huge issue with well, one, the fact that my wife and I both, we're very passionate about bodybuilding
Hmm.
and, staying in shape and everything. My wife does, coaching and things of that nature. And I can't tell you how many girls who were just really 10 pounds away from their goal gave up because it was so much easier to jab themselves in the stomach every morning and not eat,
Than it was to be
than
dedicated
it
to the
was to
gym.
actually get up and go
Hmm.
to the gym or go, hit the the CrossFit. I don't do CrossFit, but nothing against
That's
those
too
people.
extreme for me. CrossFit, like I can go to the gym and do some cardio and do some light lifting. And I say light because my husband, I think he bench presses 400 right now.
Why are y'all trying to emasculate me right now? I don't understand that. I mean, I'm a big guy, but I'm not like benching 400. I'm also 47 years old though, too. So let's throw that out there. I'm going to use ageism a little bit here. I'm just going
No,
to say it doesn't
no.
matter. So yeah.
In his defense, in his defense, he does is that when he was away in Poland for 9 months, that's all he could do. So I
Oh
mean,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, there was nothing else to do. So of course he's going to get into that, that rhythm.
Oh yeah.
And and plus when so it's no shade whatsoever. It's not demasculating. It's just literally just because he just like I'm giggling. It's just because it was he just what is it like a rhythm just
No, you
started
do get
adding
into
on because
that.
he
Yeah,
was
you
getting
do
used
get
to
into
it.
that. The issue that I have with Ozempic is my mother is in her 70s. She was a nurse.
Hmm.
She is also Cherokee, and my
Hmm.
father was a cattle. And
Hmm.
I don't know if you know what a cattle is. It was a
I
tribe
do, I
in
do.
central
We've
Arkansas.
had
Yeah.
cat.
Oh,
Oh
have you?
yeah,
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
I was adopted. That's why I
Hmm.
don't have I'm not. I'm everything in that other side of the world, But
Well, do you know that most Cherokee now, because of the lineage, actually, I guess being the blood quantum being so low that most do look like you now.
yeah, a lot of them do. I have an uncle who was 6'9" in his
Hmm.
peak. Big old. I'm the smallest man in my family, and I'm 6'3". So
630. That's
yeah,
small.
that's
Oh my
yeah, the
God.
smallest guy in my family.
You have Goliaths in your family. Oh my
Um,
God.
but my mother, she's in her 70s. She was a nurse for 30 years.
Hmm.
She's heavy set. She was one of those women that had the big old booty, the big shelf booty, like her my whole life, that you better watch out. That thing will knock you into the other room if she turns around
Oh.
too quickly. Um, but she's in her 70s now. She's had 2 hips replaced, a knee. She had a really
Hmm.
botched ankle, uh, corrective surgery that
Hmm.
didn't go well. So her mobility is a key thing right now, especially at her age and keeping her going. She's had a shoulder reconstruction, whatever, and she just talks about, well, everything hurts, everything hurts. Well, she's heavy,
Oh.
and so I told her, I said, go to the doctor, and I said, I want you to do these 3 things. I said, I want you to go tell him you want Ozempic or some type of a peptide to help you. She's not diabetic. Everybody assumes she's diabetic because she's overweight, but she's not.
Hmm.
um
And most natives also are as well. Like
right.
that's one of the health disparities that comes in
Yes.
to play with
And
natives.
I told her, I said, and she's a 2-time cancer survivor. I'm like,
Oh,
good Lord.
she's
Yeah.
strong,
Oh,
bold.
yeah. It's can't. I mean,
Is she still hold on, is she still alive today?
yeah, she is. She
Oh,
is.
good. Okay.
Yeah.
Whew.
And then I told her, I said, get on some Ozempic, some whatever. I don't care. Get on something that's going to help you lose weight because less you weigh, the easier it's going to be for your rehab.
Mhm.
And then I told her, I said, I want you to get your medical card. Start eating those gummies. Get it. Let's stay away from opioids at all costs. And then I wanted some in-home therapy. The only thing
Mhm.
that she got out of that was some in-home therapy that she ran off in 2 weeks, because she didn't like some stranger coming to her house. Yeah, and she didn't qualify with Medicare for the Ozempic because she wasn't
Mm.
diabetic, and I'm like, She needs it." That chick that has a 15 pounds she's trying to lose doesn't need it. That's what angers me with the Ozempic.
Well, and they're making it super accessible when it comes to, like, online. Like, they could see
Yeah.
a weight loss preventionist or whatever it is, and they can get it. But whereas, we have internist doctors who are actually prescribing this, and these patients are going to the pharmacy and and I lived through this. Like, I mean, it's not me that was using it, but it was, I worked with a doctor that we would
I'm
consistently.
not judging you
No,
if you did. I'm just
yeah,
saying.
no, not at
Jazz,
all.
you could tell me if you're on the
No,
Ozempic.
I
Yeah, no,
haven't. No,
she's
actually, I haven't. So, I actually have ADHD, so my medication caused me to lose a lot of weight.
right,
But also stress will do that. So so one thing about me is I am a Facebooker when it comes to my campaign. I have gotten a lot, like TikTok is great, like making my videos. I just get so tired and I run out of content, whereas I have a lot of thoughts. I love thinking because I will have so many ideas that I can put out, in words because I'm a great writer. Like, I don't ever want to be like a novelist or, like an author, nothing like that. But like when it comes to things and putting things into my words and putting my ideas on paper, I'm passionate about it. So, but the videos, they kind of just, I guess, looking at myself and knowing that I'm talking to myself. Whereas right now, I'm having a full conversation with you and I can be a
right.
social butterfly. But when I know subconsciously that I'm talking to myself, I would start losing all train of thought. I would sit there and I'll just be like, oh my God, like, what am I even talking about? Like, yeah, like,
What the
do
hell
I
did I
need,
just say?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
what the hell was even that? Have you ever seen that meme where he's like chill daddy and the
yeah,
man was like, what the hell was even that? Yes, yeah,
yeah,
that's me. But no, at one point I thought that I had to use a teleprompter because I was like, I can't remember anything. Like, I feel like my brain is mush. Like, I don't have the mental capacity to sit up here. But I started realizing is that I know that I don't have an audience. So when I don't have an audience or anyone that I'm actually holding, space with, my mind isn't going to automatically think, process this in a conversational way. So it's been really hard for me to make like TikToks where I can, or where I talk about the current news. Like, I'll love to make one, especially about the OU student that literally basically wrote an eighth grade level. I don't even think an eighth grader could have, I think that they could have wrote a better paper than what the hell she wrote, right? Like, she got a zero on it. And then she blamed her transgender TA and said, oh my gosh, she failed me. This is Christian persecution. First and foremost, there was nothing Christian persecution about this situation. You took that and then you went straight to the governor, and then you went to TPUSA, and then Ryan Walters, who is now over the anti-teachers union,
I,
anti-teachers, you took it to them, and this is like your expose. This is basically what this was. You turned this around and tried to make people think that OU it's a Division 1 school. It is not a Christian school.
no, it's not. And I'll tell you something else on that too, because you've keyed up this is my soapbox right here. You just jumped right on it. I have copious amounts of TikToks geared right at Ryan Walters. Just like Ryan
Yes.
Walters, you're the worst person to ever shit between two shoes, that type deal. But
Hmm.
sorry, I'm trying not to cuss. But
No, you're
yeah.
good. You're good. My supporters love this. They
Oh,
love the
okay, good, good.
transparency and they love that we're human. So
Yeah,
please,
yeah,
by all means, I just don't, just in case if the little lady that was on the fence about me,
right.
she's just
It's
like,
like
oh, she got a dirty mouth. So I'm just like, nah,
she
I'm
said the
cool.
F word. No, so the thing is, when you're talking about that and you're talking about Ryan Walters and you're talking about Turning Point USA, which is another Christian nationalist movement, that is just indoctrinating at the school level. And that's one of the key factors of, if you look at Project 2025, it didn't come from a vacuum. You can go all the way back to the Seven Mountain Mandate, which
Oh
comes
yeah.
in from that started in the 70s and worked its
Hmm.
way up. it even goes into the Bible. It's from Revelations 19. I did an entire podcast on that. But Ryan Walters is the biggest pick me bitch I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, who are you
Oh
telling?
my God.
You are saying nothing but a word. When I tell you that that man just wanted nothing but he just wanted nothing but airtime. He would do things just because he wanted some attention. It's like, babes, are you in your bitch era or
Yeah.
what?
Yeah, no joke. It's like, and then, and not just to harp on him, it's just the blatancy with which he was wrong. He was trying to get the Trump hashtag Lee Greenwood Bible into Oklahoma schools to be taught not as a separate course and hey, this is the Bible and this is its history. I could see that. He wanted it taught in English. He wanted it taught in history. And those things right there are things that are very dangerous because you are it is a slippery slope when you start indoctrinating other people's children with your ideology and your religion. And and I've had many arguments in my lives regarding this. Um, and people say, well, how is it different to for someone to put the 10 commandments up as opposed to someone put up the gay pride flag? And I'll tell you this, I'll take that fucking gay pride flag every fucking day, twice on Sundays over the 10
Twice on
commandments,
Sundays.
over the 10 commandments, because that gay pride flag is just letting kids know someone who's not fully confident in who they are, they just know that they're different. And it gives them the courage and the strength to say, hey, maybe there's somebody here that's like me too. You know, that might give somebody a reason to not kill themselves because they're so
Oh
different
yeah.
and their religion says that they're an abomination to God, right?
Yeah.
Those
And fun fact about me, which most of my supporters know, because like I said, I be Facebooking more than I
right,
actually, draw up the videos. But my mom is of the LGBTQ community. She's been a lesbian for as long as I, been alive, and as long as I can remember, at least, because obviously I had to get here somewhere. And
right.
and so I grew up in the community. I know nothing but love within that community. Been shown nothing but acceptance now. Will I get some sassiness and some pettiness at times? Absolutely. But the
Yeah.
thing is that most of it's shown with love and care. And I've gotten a lot of my actual material when I am being sassy or, being the it girl, whatever you want to call it. I got a lot of my material from them, but that's because they're passionate about something. They
Yeah.
actually they actually show their actual femininity, especially within our male culture, like our gay community. They've actually taught some women how to be women when they didn't have a woman, or they would have a mom, but the mom didn't even know how to take care of herself because whoever took care of them didn't show them.
Trapped in
Yes,
the patriarchy. You know, the
yes.
patriarchy is a terrible trap that a lot of people fall into. You know, if you think about the higher divorce rates from the 1960s, it's not because now women are unhappy in their marriages. It's now that women feel liberated enough to say, you know what, I'm an individual and I have the ability to reach further than this. I don't have to stand here and take this abuse. You're you know
But now we've opened up our minds to another concept of abuse as well. So, like, abuse, we all know is not just physical.
right.
Physical is more of, the most common one. But once we started opening up our eyes to seeing that, you can be emotionally abused, you can be financially abused, you can be spiritually abused. Like, therapy really works. And then putting all the names to everything that a man could do. Because if he's not slapping you, then he's emotionally. If he's telling you you're ugly, that you can't do anything, but he's not putting his hands on you, baby, you're being abused, right? If a man is not telling you where money is going and you're wondering where the hell that money is going, baby, you're being abused.
Hold on,
If
hold on.
you,
I I want to call my wife's Amazon um cart into question on
okay.
that because I made a TikTok about this because I saw a TikTok where a guy said, "Hey, did you know that Amazon has this like save for later type deal that doesn't show up in your cart?" And I was like, "No, I didn't." Girl, let me tell you something. There was about 850 doll hairs worth of shit in that save for later cart. And I was like, oh no, we're getting rid of that. We're not.
That's so that's a little different, okay? I'll keep that. So let me give you an example. like and for people who don't know who what may constitute as financial, abuse. Because there's not a lot of people who are privy to it. And luckily, I am someone who's privy to it because I've seen the signs and symptoms of it. I've seen it firsthand. I have a friend who was married to a man, and she had a bank account along with this man, right? She had her own, she had a separate bank account, but that was used, prior to them getting married, and she was kind of tapering off from that. Well, then she gets this bank account that's joint with her husband, and they were originally supposed to be using that for like bills, like they were both supposed to be, putting in money, like if they needed something, whatever, right? And then he had his own. Well, at one point, she decided that she didn't want this old bank account. She was like, I don't want this old bank account anymore. This one has more point systems to
Right,
it. What
right.
it just has more perks to it, right? And as she, excuse me, she decides to make that like her primary. He has access to that, but she doesn't have access to his bank account. So she can't like his private one, his personal one that they had prior to being married. So with that being said, you know, when she stopped working at one point in time, didn't have access to what was going in and out of that bank account. So, she would get allotted money because she had to take care, of the kids and stuff like that because she was also a part of the military family too. And this happens actually a lot. He, started like realizing like, hey, like me and the kids are hungry. Like you're gone, you're overseas or whatever. Me and the kids are hungry and we're needing money. Well, he was like, I don't have any money. I don't have any money. But then, she would see him having steak dinners with the friends over there. So she ended up, getting on food stamps, trying to, while he was gone and in that place. But that's called financial abuse. It's financial abuse. Also, she had found out that he had a credit card that was a $20,000 limit. And she was
Oh,
wondering where all the money was going at one point in time because she was losing everything. She was
interest.
losing her
All
car.
the money's going to interest on that 20 grand credit card, I
Yes, because
promise
he
you.
racked up that 20,000
Yeah.
and it was almost $500 a month on that
Girl.
credit card. And then it really wasn't even being paid down because of
Yeah.
the interest, just like you said. So she didn't know anything about that. So when they went to go get a new car at one point in time, they kept getting denied. And she's like, what? My credit is,
What?
like, I mean, she had some issues, of course, because she stopped working. So it was just so much going on. And so, but when they finally both had, they both were stable enough because she had gotten a new job and it was paying great, whatever. They were ready to get a second car. And she didn't know until the lender had told her, like, hey, like, whose credit card is this? And she was like,
Sweet God.
$20,000?
What did he buy with that 20 grand?
So a lot of it was used for, I think, prior to them getting married.
Okay.
They were, he was on a deployment and, he was using it to get, buy things. And then, like, I don't know like what else because I didn't go too far deep into it because one,
That ain't my fight. Yeah, that
it's
is.
it's that yeah, not my circus, not my
Yeah,
monkeys.
yeah.
It's not. But I mean, when she was explaining it, she was hysterical. She was, pretty sad about it because she's just like, this person that I love and and it was hard for her to believe until she had went to therapy that this person would ever financially abuse her. And then when her therapist had said that's financial abuse, if he doesn't let you know that, that where that money is going and how it's coming in and out, whatever, it's financial abuse. And so I always want my ladies to know, even my men, because it's not just women that are subjected to any kind of abuse. It's
Right.
literally anyone who can hold power over you, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And so it's but that's part of it. That's part of the financial aspect of it. But when we talk spiritually, that could be anything from your religion. That could be for, how you ground yourself and being told that that's not right. That's, like my Christian nationalism is the best. So, yeah. And I feel like that's a lot of what the Christian nationalism is. It's gaslighting. It's projection, deflection, and it's also just being so brainwashed.
Yeah, in and of the fact that they use the word Christian. in front of it. So many times people truly think. I remember there was a pastor. He always had a red hat that he had on backwards. Josh Firestein, I think was his name. But anyway, he was big on YouTube there for a while. And he was always talking about the war on Christianity. There is no war on Christianity here in the United States. I can't chunk a rock and not hit a church. And I'm not talking about a synagogue or a temple. I'm talking about a fucking Baptist church. And I can't chunk a rock and not hit one. There is no war on Christianity. The true war on Christianity is coming from within. The call is coming from inside the house.
Every
It's
time.
it's your people who are weaponizing Jesus Christ's words and setting you into motion. And when people oppose that, you think that they're opposed to people being Christians.
Right, but it's also the people who are coming out of these religions, who are actually coming out of what they're calling cults as well, that's then when they say, "Oh, we are being weaponized against," because their secrets are getting out. Like
Yeah. I mean,
everything that they have built up over the years that has been hush hush because no one's had access to them. No one's had access to the internet, or no one's been so strong enough to say, "Hey, this is what I was subjected to in this religious background."
yeah. No,
That's all it is.
I agree that the deconstruction of religion has been fierce over the past 10 years. I'm an atheist, but I was raised
Hmm.
in a Christian home. I was
Hmm.
raised when I was younger, I wanted to be a minister. I wanted to get up and preach. I just like getting up in
Mm-mm.
front of people and talking, you know? I mean, that's just kind of my
Hmm.
bag, but uh
You could be a motivational speaker instead of a preacher.
right,
So how about
absolutely. Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah.
Better
So
idea. Or a podcaster. Look at
right.
you.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but it's just the idea of getting up in front of people and talking. But as I studied the Bible, as I started to learn more, and the more I learned, the more questions I had, and eventually I was like, well, let me study these religions over here. So I studied these other religions. I was like, oh man, this is all a bunch of bullshit. My
Right.
opinion: if you're a Christian, I support you. If you're a Muslim, I support you as well. Whatever, I don't care, just don't shove it down anybody's throat. But I
That's the
had,
best part about being atheist, though. That's what the A
yeah,
stands for. And then theist is religion. So you're just
yeah,
without religion. It
yeah,
doesn't mean that you hate any religion. It just means that none of them aligns with you.
right,
So that's the beauty about it, is that you can respect it while you're an atheist. Like that's the point of being an atheist, is that
yeah.
you respect what you do, but you
I'm
also can criticize it where it needs to be
right.
criticized.
And I feel like the biggest weapon against Christian nationalism today is going to come from Christianity, because that cancer, that behemoth that has grown into the Heritage Foundation, Turning Point USA, and all this, where they're, now Turning Point USA had their martyr with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And that's all they needed to get people fired up. Most of these people that are in love with Charlie Kirk today hadn't heard a fucking word he said before he got assassinated.
No, and then they misconstrued it. Like, they would even go
Yes.
back and they would even make it chopped and screwed pretty much, and just make it
Yeah.
seem like it was super duper more poignant than what it really
Yeah.
was,
But
you know?
it was trash. What he was saying
Yeah.
was harmful, hateful rhetoric. And so, all right. So, look, I have one more question that I want to
Okay.
ask you. And this is just me being a white guy wanting to
Mhm.
ask a lady of color if something is racist. And I want to know what your take is on it. I
Okay.
hear this every day on TikTok Live, people talking about spitting facts. And I'm just curious what your take is on it. I haven't looked into it. Is calling a spade racist?
No.
Okay, good, good. Because I said it the other day, and Rachel was like, "Is that racist?" And
No.
I
We
was
call a
like,
spade all the time.
"Okay,
That's just like saying, what is the other one that goes, basically calling it how it is. So
right."
I
That's
mean,
what I thought it
that's just a
was. Is
diet.
like, yeah,
It's just a saying. It's not
okay.
anything that's like over now. If you ask me about like the other word, I'd be like, hold up, but I know you wouldn't
Oh
do
no,
that.
no, no, I wouldn't do that.
But
No,
call a spade.
no,
Are
I
you
didn't.
kidding? Tell tell
Look,
your wifey that I said that y'all are okay saying call
okay,
a
all right,
spade.
we got it. We're good then. Hey, Jazz, I have really enjoyed this conversation, and I wish you the best of luck. Um, before we get off here, in the comments, we're going to have her website you can go to. How can people help you? You are a crowd-funded candidate. We didn't talk about that a whole lot. I just wanted to have a conversation with you. Where can people go to help support you in your campaign?
Absolutely. So I'm on all socials as Jasmine for OK, and I have a link tree that's in the bio in every one of them.
Okay,
And you can go to that link tree and you can go to my Act Blue, or you can go to www.jasmine for OK. So that would be FOROK.com. And you can
not four.
also,
Yeah,
yeah, not
not
for
four. Yeah,
that, then I'm a gangbanger at that point.
right, right, right,
But but no, no, no. But you can actually go to my website and you can actually directly donate there. And please, every little bit really helps. I mean,
right,
from 5, 10, 15, up all the way into the maximum donation until after the primaries. Please do what you can because I eat very frugally. So like I just almost have to itemize McDonald's on this
right,
last on this last FEC report. And like but I spend most of my money on my community. I do canned food drives. I'm going to do a toy drive for Christmas. I'm doing a lot of
right,
things to get back to my community. And I even try to go meet with today's youth to also show them that they need to they need to put their 2 cents into politics or get involved into politics. And I can't do that, if gas is super expensive or if I have to get a rental car because, driving my own car, I'm putting exponential amount of miles on it and gas.
right.
So please, whatever you do to make this happen, because we can turn Oklahoma purple, please
Yeah,
consider
we can.
donating. I need you. They need me. We got to do this. We got to get it together, guys.
Do you have any town halls or anything coming up? Any speaking engagements where people can come out and support you?
So I do, and they are actually on my website. If
Okay.
you go to if they go to www.jasmineforok.com, they can actually go to my schedule where it says like events that are coming up, and they can actually see it, and it'll actually be in chronological order, and they can meet. I meet them where they're at. They don't meet me where I'm at
Well,
unless they want to meet me there. I tell them to beat me there at that point.
so I know where you're at in Oklahoma. Do you know where I'm at in Arkansas?
You're right on the edge of
Yeah,
Oklahoma.
I'm in Fort Smith. I don't know if you ever know where that is.
Yes.
So I'm gonna check your calendar, and the next time you're close to me, me and Rachel's gonna come in and surprise you. I'll let you know before I
Thank
just show
you.
up, though.
Yes, I would
I don't
love
want
that.
security like taking me out, like, hey, it's a MAGA, get rid of him,
No, heck no, heck no. We're gonna know who you are straight up. So we don't even gotta worry about that. Actually prioritize them.
Get that
Get
guy
them
up here.
some wine.
Yeah, that's
Get them
right. That's right. Well, Jasmine, I appreciate you. And everybody, listen, when you're vetting your candidates and trying to figure out who it is that you want working for you, you have to look at who's paying them in the beginning. These
right,
candidates are working hard. They're doing without because they don't want their integrity challenged. They don't want to accept money from these super PACs, APAC, these large corporate donorships because they know they'll eventually be working for them if they do.
right.
So when you're vetting these candidates and you see these candidates that are grassroots, that is what we want to reclaim our country. So
Because we're funded by us for us.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So
Jazz,
thank you for having me on.
had a great time. Guys, we'll see y'all later. Bye.
Bye.